House will reinstate prohibition. This House is going to be the United States of America. By prohibiting alcohol, we are going to be prohibiting the drinking, buying, and selling of alcohol. For those with current addictions, we are going to help them with the mental rehabilitation programs, help them get over their addictions. And we're going to present all this on a campaign with emotional appeal to tell the people exactly why we feel alcohol is absolutely needed. So I'm going to be talking about 4 sort of ideas, 3 main, and the last one being the government's responsibility, why we should do this. So I'm going to talk about the future society and the harms. I'm going to talk about a sinful society. I'm going to talk about the mental capacity of these alcoholics. So let's get straight into it. First off, why is it the government's responsibility? Well, we think through the social contract that we have, it is our obligation to protect our citizens. And when we see an issue as big as alcohol that causes as many harms as it does to our people and to our social institutions, we think it is the responsibility of the government to protect those people, to protect our social institutions, to protect the society we have built, especially from a harm that is as bad as alcohol. We see that alcohol has created crimes like drunk driving, has made abuse in families so much more history. We think because it has so many negative effects that are similar to any other drugs that we justify with the same logic, we are absolutely justified in banning and protecting our citizens. Would you not agree?
Gambling is addictive. Gambling harms your citizens. Why don't we ban gambling?
I'll talk about that after. But we think we justify alcohol. We're going to justify alcohol prohibition in the same way we will justify marijuana or the non-legalization of marijuana or any other drug that harms society in such a negative way. Okay, now let's move on to the actual points here. So the first thing we see is the future society of harms. And we see the drunk driving. We see the abuse. We see what it does to our criminal system, to our healthcare system, to all our social institutions. We see what such a negative effect it has on our society. And we think we need to protect these people. And we think especially for the future, if we allow these kind of things to happen, they won't stop. And we want them to stop, ladies and gentlemen. We think that is the responsibility of the government. We think we need to make sure for our future society, for the children of the next generation, that this does not happen, that they don't have to go through the same things that we went through. All right. Now, let's talk about a sinful society. We think the idea here is that although there are many alcoholics, there are some people who drink recreationally, right? We go out on weekends, we talk, we just drink, we have fun, whatever. But the idea here, when we go out and we say we cannot have fun without drinking, is saying we cannot fully enjoy life without being impaired. And we don't think as a government, as a society, that's something that we should promote. Instead, we think we should actually promote the idea of having hobbies, of having normal ways to have fun, that don't impair you as a person, that don't change the way you are. Because we don't think that's right. We think that it's a sin. We think that's a sin to try and live life through other means of impairment.
You can't make relationships over a bottle of beer. How do you expect to do it without it?
We think we have lots of relationships that we make without alcohol. We think we can have great, healthy relationships without alcohol. We think we can have a lot of fun without alcohol. But you know what? We do understand that there is, to some certain degree, more fun with alcohol. But we don't think that's fun we should be having. We don't think that that's fun we can justify because of all the bad things it does, because of all the people it actually harms, and because it is a sin for us to be doing it. So we think because it harms our social institutions, because it is a bad way for us to look at life, for us to enjoy it, of getting the most, we want to get the most out of life without having to source it from some sort of external source. Because we don't think finding some sort of happiness out of alcohol is permanent happiness. We don't think it's real self-actualization. We think it's better instead to try and find it through within yourself, through within your own means. Now let's talk about the last thing I want to talk about. It was the mental capacity. And this is specifically addressed to the alcoholics in this situation. And what we see is that alcoholics are actually addicted to alcohol.
No shit.
What we see is that alcohol is essentially the agent that is infringing upon their freedom of choice. They cannot choose whether they want to have a bottle or not, because everything in their brain, their physical and their physiological processes want to have that bottle of alcohol. They cannot make a sane and rational decision. Their freedom of choice is being infringed upon by alcohol. And we think that the government has to help these people, that the government has to prohibit alcohol specifically, no thank you, because we don't want them to still have to be exposed to it everywhere else. We think it's unfair for someone to have to go through an addiction, have to work through everything, and then still watch everyone around them like, celebrating in this terrible thing, and this thing that causes so much harm for society. We don't think it actually has any benefit. We don't think we're actually justified in making alcoholics relive their experiences every time they watch someone pick up a bottle of beer. So because we think that the freedom of choice is limited, because we think that we need to help these people who are suffering from alcohol addiction, we think not only does our resolution say that, but the part of our model that deals with them specifically also says. So let me try and just really bring everything that I talked to you into clear, concise ideas. I've talked to you about why it's the government's responsibility. And we think this is pretty much acceptable, in that the idea of the government is to protect us. And if they see something that is harming us so very much, especially to individuals who cannot make the decision to waive their rights anymore, then we absolutely must protect. We absolutely must make the emotional appeal, make the appeal to the people that this has to happen, that alcohol has to be prohibited. I talked about how we have to protect our society for the future, how because we have so many harms, harming our social institutions, harming our people, we can't allow that. I talked about a civil society and how this is not the way we should be approaching life, how we should find self-actualization, how we should find happiness, how we should find those good things within ourselves and not from external forces. Because we see when you find it from something like alcohol, from something like a drug, it is not perfect. It is not truly beneficial. And the last thing I talked about was mental capacity and the freedom of choice for these alcoholics. So, ladies and gentlemen, please think of all of that when you consider this resolution. That's why we're proposed.